Hey Sunflowers, sorry for this delay. We have some technical difficulties going on trying to get everything organized here. We had a stream going and then all of a sudden it decided it didn't want to be a stream anymore. So we're getting all that figured out. So just give me a few more minutes and we're going to get started. Well, I guess tonight I'm going to have to take a little bit of an L because I had my stream all set up and ready to go and connected, but unfortunately I'm not really sure what exactly happened as to why my stream just randomly cut off on me, but it is what it is. We're going to move forward and we're going to be all right. So we're going to get started with tonight's topic, which is we are covering tonight 3 DBT skills for great communication. So I'm just going to drop this pin in the chat very quickly for anyone who is able to join and can see this. Oops. Let me turn my sound off too. Hey, friend. Tonight's gonna be rough. But okay. I think I finally got some things figured out now where it's gonna make some kind of sense. So, guys, let me do this. All right. Hey, and good evening to any and everybody who is able to join this live tonight. Again, I greatly apologize. I sent out links before to everybody, so if you're trying to access and you're not able to get in, I do greatly apologize. Hopefully you see the updated link so that way you guys can get in here and, we can have this discussion. Hey, brother, thanks for coming. But yeah, as usual, hey Sunflowers, and welcome to another episode of BPD Squared Live. And thank you so much for being here with me tonight. As I said earlier, we are going to be discussing 3 DBT skills that can not only help someone who has BPD, but can also be applied in anyone's life despite having a diagnosis. So we are going to start tonight's video with a with a video. And it's basically a video explaining what DBT is from this perspective of people who have BPD, and from the perspective of Dr. Marsha Linehan, who is the woman who created this system. So with that being said, there will be a small trigger warning issued here. And like I said, it's a small trigger warning because the video will mention some self-harm tactics or self-harm tendencies, but it won't be like in-depth talking about it as we did in our last live. So it's just a brief mention of it, and I possibly will bring it back up again later on in our conversation, but I might not. So again, this is just me issuing a small trigger warning just to make you guys aware. But with that being said, let's go ahead and let Dr. Linehan, as well as the others that participated in the video, explain to you what BPD is.
We have very few evidence-based treatments for borderline personality disorder at this point. DBT is probably the treatment for which there is the greatest evidence.
Dialectical Behavior Therapy was designed very specifically for people who self-harmed and had strong suicidal impulses.
It basically is helping you to deal with situations that are going to come up every day, and your emotional reaction is going to be a certain way, and it helps you deal with that emotional reaction. It helps you find ways to stabilize yourself.
It is the synthesis or merging of trying to change something while simultaneously radically accepting that it is what it is.
It encourages, first of all, the person who's suffering to step out and look at their own emotions as a third person might, rather than to immediately act on them.
The reason it's called dialectical behavior therapy is because the treatment itself is the synthesis of both the change in behavior therapy and the acceptance, which, when the treatment was developed, was drawn primarily from my own practice and experience in Zen.
It used to feel literally like people's eyes would have a physical effect on my body. Like my neck would prickle and my heart would constrict. And I interpret that they are looking at me in a hostile way. You know, the fact is, they are looking at me. But I can't assume what they're feeling inside and what they're thinking. DBT has helped me tolerate that I feel this thing and I interpret it this way, but it may not necessarily be the reality.
I like dialectical behavioral therapy because there were things that I could work on a daily basis that would help me get through the day, and there were certain exercises that I could do, and there was concrete things that I could do.
The last time I desperately wanted to cut myself, I did a type of technique that I learned through DBT, which is I went and I held ice cubes in my hand. And putting ice cubes in your hand when you really want to experience physical pain is a way of focusing on something without necessarily hurting yourself. Instead of saying, oh, I just shouldn't feel this way, or oh, I need to change the way I feel, you learn how to work with what you're experiencing in an more effective way.
It is so effective that we've had some clients, when they knew they were going to have to discuss something extremely intense like sexual abuse or rape or something like that, actually go to the store and buy those little cubes that you can put in your freezer, the ones that are wrapped up, and you can put them in your freezer. And when they have to have a session like that, they take them with them to the therapist's office, hold them in their hands during the session.
Okay. Let me pull my script back up here. All right, so so basically, yes, they are giving you just a brief explanation of what DBT is meant to do for those of us who struggle with very extreme emotions, very extreme issues, while regulating emotions in general. So hopefully that video gave you a bit of a bit more insight as to what we're going to be talking about tonight. But for those of you who may be new here, checking out this video for the first time and seeing my face for the first time, hey Sunflower, and welcome. And thanks again for clicking on this video, whether you be here live or whether you're here after the fact and watching the replay. I appreciate you very much. My name is Brenda, and I created BPD Squared after I received a dual diagnosis of bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder back in 2019. So I wanted a way to be able to share my experiences with others while also developing a community of people who were going through the same things I was going through. So with that being said, I wanted to have a place where people could have open discussions and gain understanding as it pertains to mental health and mental illnesses. But with that being said, I do want to make sure that it is very clear that I am not a medical professional. And so therefore, all I can do on this channel is share my experiences. I cannot diagnose, I cannot counsel, nor can I give any therapeutic advice, but I can share and will share my experiences with my particular mental health diagnosis or mental illnesses, my diagnosis, the lessons I've learned along the way, the research that I've gathered, and the experiences that have been documented based on the research that I've gathered as well. So I don't want it to be misconstrued by anyone that I'm giving any kind of advice that can be taken as medical advice. This is just me sharing my experience. What do you want, sir? Also, you see him in... He is so interested, right? He's got something to say. He always has something to say. Luke, say hello. Come. Say hello. Good boy. So y'all, this is Luke. This is my sidekick, my road dog, my homie in arms. But anyway, did you have something you wanted to say to everyone? Yeah, so with that disclaimer out of the way as well, I do want to... Sir, Keenan, could you please come get your dog? With that also being said, I do want to let you guys know that if you do happen to be going through any kind of mental health crises and you do want to reach out to someone who can give you medical advice and counseling, there are resources listed here, as well as they will be linked in the description below once I update everything. But yes, they will be linked in the description box below, the flower box, as I like to call it. As you can see, there are various organizations that pertain to particular needs. So if you are a veteran, if you may be deaf, hard of hearing, Spanish speaking, a part of the LGBTQIA community, whatever your particular needs may be, there will be an organization for you. So don't feel that you don't have a way to reach out or you don't have anybody to reach out to, because there's something for everybody. So make sure that you are checking out that link in make sure you're checking out that link in the flower box below so you can see all the resources down there available on my website. All right, now hopefully all of that is clear and understood, and my poo is now back in the room. So he's answering me with his bar. You can borrow him for a week if you want to. But yeah, so that was Luke, and he'll probably be back. But anyway, so just to finish that off, basically, like I said before, what I'm sharing here is just my personal experience. So take what I say as an example and not as a rule. Everybody's mental illness or mental health presents in different ways, even though we may have even though the symptoms are common amongst the diagnosis, in different people, does not mean it will always present the exact same way. So don't take my personal experiences as the end all be all for everybody who may have BPD or who may have bipolar. So again, take my experience as an example, not as a rule. So now as we move forward, we're going to get into our topic of tonight, which again, 3 ways that DBT can help you have great communication. But before we talk about the communicating part, of course, we got to talk about what is DBT in the first place. So DBT, which is short for Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. And I realize y'all can't even see the screen. Hold on, let me switch it over. There we go. So Dialectical Behavioral Therapy is a method to help enhance a person's capabilities. Its main goals are to teach people how to live in the moment, how to develop healthy ways of coping with stress, regulating their emotions, and improving their relationships with others. Bet. So, DBT was originally designed specifically for people with BPD by Marsha Linehan, as she briefly mentioned in the video. However, it has been shown that people who don't have mental illnesses, or even people who that I can't stand you. I can't stand you. You distracted me. But anyway, so DBT has been shown to be helpful in people who not only have BPD, but who exhibit other mental illnesses, as well as it has been known to help people who don't necessarily have a specific diagnosis, but they use these skills in their everyday life in general. DBT is derived from CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. There's a lot of acronyms that's going to be going on tonight. But CBT is a type of psychotherapeutic treatment that helps people learn how to identify and change the destructive or disturbing thought patterns that have a negative influence on their behavior and their emotions. So both are effective forms of talk therapy, but their main differences are that CBT focus on changing negative thought patterns by addressing behaviors that follow. So like depression or anxiety. So you may have negative thoughts that lead to depression, or you have depression that leads to negative thoughts. DBT in itself does the exact same thing, but it has more of an emphasis on the coping skills because of the physical harmful behaviors that are commonly associated with BPD and the emotional regulation that we try to work through. So DBT focuses specifically on 4 things. It focuses on developing 4 things, 4 specific skills, I should say. First, mindfulness, which is the practice of being fully aware and present in one moment. Distress tolerance, which is how to tolerate pain in difficult situations, but not actively trying to change it. Interpersonal effectiveness, how to ask for what you want and say no while maintaining self-respect and relationships with others. And emotional regulation, how to change emotions that you want to change. The subject of dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT, in itself is very extensive. So I encourage you guys, of course, as always, to look into it, gather more information on your own time, really understand it. Of course, I will have links in the description box below so you guys can check that out and see, what DBT does. And the more, basically, it just goes into more depth than I'm going to go into tonight on that particular thing. So, of course, check that out. But, so yes, it is something I recommend that you also work with a therapist on as well, or at least a mental health professional, to really fully utilize the benefits. Because again, these are skills that, even though they can be applied in everyday life and you can pick them up and try to use them in your everyday life on your own, it is definitely something that if you are going through that process of difficulty and trying to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, or if you're having these interpersonal issues, I should say, or having issues communicating with others and regulating your emotions while communicating with others, definitely reach out to a therapist, reach out to a mental health professional, and try to apply these skills in your everyday life and work on that stuff with them. So this, I do plan on this live to be a lot shorter tonight anyway. So again, I'm a little frustrated, but we gonna make it through. So the first skill that we are going to focus on tonight is DEARMAN, DEARMAN, for those who may be listening. This skill specifically focuses on developing effective interpersonal communication that will help us get our needs met and develop healthy relationships with others. In other words, it makes sure that we are seeing our needs in a realistic way and also conveying those needs in a way that makes sense to others and doesn't make them ultimately responsible for how we feel. So I hope that's understood. So we're going to go through and briefly give you the definition of each one and kind of give a small example for each point. But as we go down, if you guys have any questions, of course, and any concerns, definitely let me know in the chat, of course. Hopefully I can answer the questions as we go through, but if there's any concerns, let me know. I'll probably get to them and check the chat after I read through these so I can make it a little more streamlined. Be part of a support group. Absolutely. Okay. So first point, D, describe. Describe the current situation if necessary. Stick to the facts and tell the person exactly what you are reacting to. Which, yeah, basically, I feel like this is kind of straight to the point. Tell them exactly what's going on in your mind. When you're communicating with someone, you don't want to be roundabout with your issue. Be direct. Tell them straight up. This is what's going on. This is what I'm having an issue with, or this is what I need to bring to your attention. Make it very plain, make it very clear, and be factual. Stick to the exact point. E is for express. Express your feelings and your opinions about the situation. Do not assume that the other person knows how you feel, which I feel is a very, very important part of communicating in general, is that we have this, I feel like, well, not we, I'm not going to be definitive, but I feel like a lot of people have this notion that because you're with your significant other, your partner, your friend, someone you're very close to, and you've built a kind of close relationship with to where you can, have these more open conversations. I feel like a lot of times we assume that the person should know how we're feeling about something. And that's not always the case. It doesn't really matter how well you think you know a person or how long you've known a person. Point of the matter is, they can't always know what you're going through because that person doesn't live in your head. That person is not living your life. They're not walking in your shoes. So it's also unfair because if the shoe was on the other foot or if the situation was flipped around and the person asked you, oh, well, you should know how I'm feeling. You should have known this bothered me or whatever. You can't always make that assumption. You can't always make that a definitive thing. So when it comes to effectively communicating your needs to someone, don't assume that they should know how you feel about a situation. Make sure that they are clear on that. Make it clear to them. Because even if they tell you after the fact, oh, well, I knew that, still, you need to make sure that it is known from your perspective. A, assert yourself by asking for what you want and saying no very clearly. Do not assume that others will figure out what you want either. Remember that others cannot read your mind. So the same thing with expressing yourself. When you're asserting yourself, you want to be clear about what it is you're trying to communicate. Express what it is to make sure that the person knows where you're coming from, and be assertive with what you're saying to make sure the person is understanding of how direct you are in what you're trying to convey. Reinforce or reward the person ahead of time, so to speak, by explaining the positive effects of getting what you want or what you need. If necessary, also clarify the negative consequences of not getting what you want or need. Now, to me, this kind of sounds like you're giving that person an ultimatum, but it's really not. In a way, you're telling the person, well, let me give an example. So my husband and I had like a mini argument a while back. And it was just over, him being more vocal about, okay, if you're not going to stick to a certain schedule or whatever, just letting me know what's going on, where he's going. And not necessarily a means of keeping tabs on him or anything. It's just for my peace of mind and my anxiety levels. It's like, hey, just let me know if you're not going to come home at a certain time, just let me know, And so I apologize for saying, so many times in a row. And it rhymes. But it's a matter of, so like I said, we had that kind of argument, and I basically just said, hey, when these things happen, letting me know ahead of time what your plan is alleviates that stress off of me. It alleviates that anxiety off of me, because now I'm not worried about you. I'm not concerned about you. I don't feel like I did something wrong to keep you away. It just gets rid of a lot of intrusive thoughts, because it's not necessarily always negative thoughts either. It's just intrusive thoughts for me. And so with that, it's just a matter of, okay, being considerate of those things lets you know, okay, this is what happens if you are reciprocal of my needs. And here's what can happen if you're not. So if I don't get that communication, if I'm not aware of what's going on and where you may be, and, like I said, I will worry. I will stress myself out. I may even get to a point where I have an episode and may want to, harm or anything like that. So like I said, it's not necessarily that I'm giving an ultimatum in this situation. It's basically just saying, hey, this is what we want to avoid. If by you doing it, by you actively reciprocating, this is what we're avoiding. I hope that makes sense, y'all. Intrusive thoughts. Yeah. Wait, I want to see that. We're going to talk about that later. You said wants and needs are funny for you. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The next point is being mindful. Being mindful means to keep your focus on your goals. Maintain your position. Don't be distracted. Don't get off topic. Speak like a broken record. Keep asking for what you want, or say no and express your opinion, even if you have to do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Keep replaying the same thing. Ignore the attacks. That's a big one. If the other person starts to attack you or threaten you or tries to change the subject, don't let any of that faze you. Just keep going with your point. Do not respond to the attacks. Ignore the distractions and just keep making your point. So something as basic as, I need you, like with this conversation, I need you to tell me what's going on. If he were to respond to that with, well, you don't ever tell me this, or you don't do this, you don't do that. The easiest way to go about that, and I think that's something we'll get to later on as well. Easiest way to go about that is like, okay, I address that. I see that, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Right now, this is the subject. Right now, this is the point. And so when it comes to a person trying to divert, so we've all, I'm pretty sure in the chat, we've all had conversations where we're trying to convey our point to someone and they start negating or what's the word I'm looking for? They try to, basically they're just trying to change the topic, and they're trying to like go into something different, or basically invalidate your point by saying, well, you did it too, or anything of that nature. So basically this is just a reminder that those things can happen. We get in our feelings, we say things that that may be hurtful to someone, or someone might say something that's hurtful to us. It's a reminder for both sides. Do not resort to attacking or threatening each other to make a point. It is just a matter of ignore that, keep making your point, make yourself very clear, and make yourself, make your point very clear. Appear confident, appear effective, and appear competent. Use confident voice tone and physical manner. Make eye contact. Don't stammer, don't whisper, don't stare at the floor, don't retreat back. Basically, this point is saying when you are standing on a point, if you're trying to make a point, stand firm on your point. And even if you're shaking in your boots like I'm really doing right now, and you're like, trying to get that point across, still be very direct with what it is that you're trying to say. Even if in the back of your mind, you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to even say this. I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. Put on a mask if you have to, and make it very plain that this is what I need to happen. This is what I need to happen. Not even what I want to happen. This is what needs to happen. So give them the appearance that you are not wavering, that you're not changing, and that you're serious about what it is you need to convey. And our final point, negotiate. Be willing to give to get. Offer and ask for other solutions to your problem. Reduce your request if you need to. Say no, but offer to do something else or solve the problem another way. Focus on what will work and what can work. Negotiation, I feel like, is a huge part of our relationships and our communication within our relationships. And I feel like conversations in themselves, and this is something we're going to get to later, is like, conversations are compromises when you really think about it, because it's 2 points coming together to reach some kind of common goal. So even if you feel as if you're presenting a point to someone and that person may not be fully seeing your point, they see your point, but they may not be fully on board with the way you want to go about portraying it or executing it, try to meet them in the middle. That doesn't mean back off of your point. That doesn't mean back off of your needs, but it suggests that you're being open enough to let the other person have their say as well. So negotiations in conversations are quite important and quite necessary. But again, that doesn't mean give up your needs to make the compromise. All right. So that is the first thought. That's the first skill, the DEARMAN skill. Is everybody all right so far? Are there any questions about what I've said so far, or any points that anybody needs to make? Or if we're good, you already know, leave me a sunflower, leave me a thumbs up if we're good and we want to move on to the next point. And also, you're speaking from an intimate standpoint. I mean, I have to, because I can't speak on anyone else's standpoint. But, I apply this in my own personal communications. Try to be mindful of this stuff as much as I can. I'm not perfect, but I try my best to be. But yeah, I can only speak from an intimate place because I only know me at the, from that level. Also, shout out to my boy. You are a mess. And yes, we going to get that DBT card. Such a mess. I love you. Thank you for that. I hope my boy Chris is in the chat. Where is Chris at? Chris, where you at, boy? Hold on. Let me see if my friend is coming. Okay, but I'm gonna assume we're good to move on. So we're gonna move on to our next point. And our next skill we're gonna cover is give, GIVE. The give skill focuses on helping us maintain healthy relationships through effective communication. It is a reminder to be courteous to the other party when communicating. Something like putting yourself in their shoes. How would you want someone to talk to you? How would you want to be treated in conversations? So that's what give focuses on. Be gentle. Be nice and respectful. Avoid attacks, as we said earlier, whether it be verbal or physical. Avoid threats and manipulation. Avoid harassment of any kind. Express anger directly with words. Avoid using threatening statements. For example, I'll unalive myself if you don't do this, or I'll set your computer on fire if you do this, or something like that. Don't be that extra. Describe the painful consequences for not getting what you want, but describe them calmly and without exaggerating. Thank you. Stay in the discussion even if it gets painful, and exit gracefully if necessary. Avoid judgment, moralizing, and blaming. Avoid smirking, eye rolling, teeth sucking, interrupting each other, etc., etc. So, in a gist, just be respectful of each other when you are approaching your communication about your needs, your wants, and your expectations. Don't come at it from a place of, what's the word I want to use? Don't come at it from a place of, you have to do this, or don't come at it from a place of obligation. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's like you're slightly obligated, but not really. We'll talk about that in a minute. But don't come at it from a place of a person has to do this or else. Like I said, you don't want to really come into too many conversations with ultimatum in mind. Ultimatum is necessary when it's necessary, but that shouldn't be your first line of defense every time we have no ultimatums. We, when we come into these conversations, we want to be sure that we're trying to make compromises and not ultimatums. Interest. Listen and appear interested in the other person. Listen to the other person's point of view. Face the person. Keep eye contact. Lean toward the person rather than away. Don't interrupt or talk over them. Be sensitive to their wishes. If they want to have the discussion at a later time, be respectful of that as well, and be patient when having these conversations. In other words, make them feel comfortable. Absolutely. Not manipulating. Absolutely. Make them feel that they have a space to actually share this with you. Make them feel as if what they're saying is valid, accepted, and heard. Like we said in our previous live of the one about validation. Validation doesn't mean you right. It just means I hear you. Which, interestingly, is our next point. Validate. Right? Show them that you understand the other person's feelings and thoughts. Show the other person that you understand their feelings and their thoughts about the situation. See the world from their point of view. Say or act on what you see. And for example, I'm so sorry this is hard for you, or I see that you've been very busy. Man, that seems like it'll really take a toll on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to give them reassuring and validating statements to let them know that the interest that you took is active interest. So again, you may not agree with what they're saying. You may not be on the same side and even feel like they even have a right to say what they're saying, but you still want to give them their space to be able to get their points across. So again, I'm going to keep saying it. To validate someone does not mean that you're automatically right. That does not mean they are automatically right. It just lets them know that their feelings and thoughts are being respected. And finally, easy manner. Use a little humor. Smile, ease the person along, be lighthearted, use the politically correct language if you need to go there. In other words, leave your attitude at the door. You know what I'm saying? So when you're coming into these conversations, hey, Pooh, it's fine. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. But yeah, when you're coming into these conversations, we must look at it from a, like I said, respectful manner, because we're having conversation. Well, not necessarily entertaining. Not to be entertaining, But just to be, I can't think of any other word but easy. Just to be, I can't think of the word. Anything. I guess the other word would be like just making them feel comfortable. And yeah, I agree with that. Craig Jones respectively. I respectfully, I agree with that. When you're having your conversations, especially when it comes to having difficult conversations with your significant other, your friends, your partner, in any relationship, close relationship conversation, or even if it's not a close relationship, any relationship conversation where there needs to be a compromise made, you want to make the person feel like, okay, even though we may not be agreeing right now, we still should be cool after this. I should still be able to crack a joke with you. I should still be able to come to you after the fact and make a joke and say, well, that was messed up, wasn't it? We should be able to still have that camaraderie after the fact, no matter what the situation may be. Now, if you done did some messed up stuff, that's a different story. But if there are needs put on the table that can be addressed, that can come to a compromise, you still want to come at it from a place that I'm serious and I deserve to be heard, but at the same time, I don't take it so seriously to where we can't move forward from this without anger. I hope that makes sense. And platonic intimate spaces. So I want to interject something before we move on to our last point. And do I need to move this now? No, I'm going to keep it there. So I feel one of our issues, especially when it comes to communicating to others, especially when it comes to communicating our needs and wants, is that people come into a conversation wanting to win. You know what I mean? Like, people come into conversations wanting to win the argument, basically. The problem I have with that is winning basically states that there's a competition. And conversations amongst significant others, friends, partners, family, should not be competitive, in my opinion. Like I said earlier, conversations should be compromises. They should be looked at as compromises or, mergers or whatever other words you want to use, but it definitely shouldn't be looked at as competitive. So, to me, winning means you're looking for a way to eliminate that other person, right? So in a boxing match, you and another person are facing off on each other. When you're in the ring about to knock each other's block off, you're not thinking about how can both of us land the punches the right way so that we both come out on top. No, you're trying to knock that sucker out. So with that being said, we should not look at conversations, especially conversations that we're looking to solve or have compromises on. We shouldn't be looking at it as I'm trying to knock you out. I don't need to win. We just need to come to some sort of agreement, even if we agree to disagree. So it basically, to me, looking to win a conversation means you're not even really trying to hear the other person's side. It's more like, how can I beat you with words? And that's not how it should be. Like, okay, I'm about to make a very controversial statement, but I feel, okay, so this is no shade towards I'm doing this because I don't even know what it's really called, to be honest, but this is no shade to the red pill alpha female, alpha male communities or whatever. And I'm not even saying it towards the people that have those platforms, but I think the misinterpretation of what they are putting out is taken by the people who listen to it. And I think they're taking this rhetoric, instead of trying to apply it in a way that it matches what they try to get out of their relationships through communication, it's more of I feel like they're using that as their validator and their way of saying that what I want matters and what you want doesn't. So again, this is not me shading those communities and saying that. It's just, I feel like some of the people who try to reiterate what those guys and communities are saying, they're taking it to a different level that I don't think the majority of them are actually trying to get to, or at least trying to point out. So many people, like I said, are going into these conversations and going into these going into these relationships with the idea of what I want and what I need is the thing that needs to be respected. And hold on, let me switch to my face. What I want and what I need needs to be respected outside of what is actually being presented on the table. So when we approach conversations, we should see it as, I'm looking to be heard, but I'm not looking to be right. I feel like that is a very important point when you're going into conversations. Try to keep in mind, from my personal opinion, keep in mind, I'm not trying to be right. I'm trying to be heard. I want you to see where I'm coming from. I want you to understand this is what's bothering me. This is the issue that I'm having. And to be able to acknowledge that, not, I said it, so therefore you got to do what I say because I'm right. I need to be right. No, you don't need to be right. You need to be heard. So again, when you're trying to prove yourself right, you're also proving the other person's needs and opinions don't matter. So again, going into your conversation about needs and wants should not be about being right. It should be about being heard. Wanting to win or wanting to make themselves feel better, how they go about it, legitimately and illegitimately. Facts. And my boy Chris, he says, I'd rather just have the dialogue. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of times we hope that's what it is, but what I've also noticed, another controversial statement, is when others don't have the words to defend themselves, they resort to everything else because that's the easiest way to, again, win. When I feel like when you have these people, like, okay, you know how you see guys or you see girls and they're starting to have conversations, but when you get to a point of when you're stating necessary facts or you're stating valid points, they start to get to a point of, man, I don't even know why you doing all that. Like, you being all extra. Da, 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 da. It's like the negation. The negation is real. And it's like, no, because now you're not actively trying to have a conversation. Again, like I'm repeating, you just want to win. And that's not what we should be doing in our conversations, y'all. It should be definitely come to me with your problem. Let's talk it out. If we can leave the conversation disagreeing, that is fine, but it should be to a point where both parties are able to be heard effectively. All right, so we got that point across. We're gonna move on to our last point. Again, if everybody's good in the chat, let me know. Leave me a thumbs up, leave me a sunflower. Just let me know y'all are doing good and y'all are following what I'm saying. And I need my boy, you know who you are, to let me know how many times I said I think people just want to make themselves feel better, right and wrong, personal preferences, and using manipulation to achieve the goal. I mean, I agree with that. I do agree that a lot of people want to make themselves feel better because, this is going to be a controversial talk tonight. I feel like a lot of people, I do feel like a lot of people want to just make themselves feel better. I don't think a lot of times when we go into conversations, people are actually looking to solve anything. They just want to feel better. They just want to yell about it. They just want to fuss about it. I don't think a lot of times they're not looking to really solve anything. It's just, I just want to say what I got to say. And that's about it. But I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to get in trouble with nobody. So we're going to move on to our last point. Thank you for the sunflowers. We're going to move on to our last point, which is FAST. FAST. Next slide. FAST So F is fairness. Be fair to yourself and the other person. Remember to validate your own feelings and wishes, as well as the feelings and wishes of the other person. So I'm sure it's I'm sure it's pretty obvious at this point that some points do repeat, but each one has its own particular things that it focuses on specifically when it comes to those points of communication. But the points do repeat themselves because they are things that need to be taken into consideration, even no matter what skill you're using. But yes, as we said before, be fair to yourself and be fair to the other person. Validate yourself and validate that other person. Each person deserves their space to be able to say what it is they need to say. Say what you need to say. Anyway, apologize, or apologizing, over apologizing, actually. Do not apologize for things you shouldn't. Don't apologize for being alive, and don't apologize for making a request. Do not apologize for having an opinion, and do not apologize for disagreeing. Don't be ashamed. Don't have your head down, a body slumped, and don't invalidate what's valid. In other words, you don't have to be sorry for what's real. You don't have to be sorry for existing, and you don't have to be sorry for having feelings. This is something that I myself have to work very hard on. I'm very good to come to some, I'm so sorry, but, and it's a skill that I am working tirelessly to figure out how to not do. But yes, it's a matter of, for me and for conversations that I've had with my friends, to continuously apologize for having a valid point is subconsciously putting in that person's mind that you don't even value what it is you're trying to say to the person, so therefore they shouldn't have to value it. So if you have to apologize for it, it's like you're already devaluing your point. So like we said earlier with our previous points, be direct, be assertive, and be expressive about what it is you need, and don't apologize for it. Unless it's some messed up stuff, and you know if it's some messed up stuff. Stick to your values. S. Don't sell out your values or integrity for reasons that aren't very important. Be clear on what you believe is the moral or valued way of thinking and acting. In other words, stick to your guns. For me, this is just, don't compromise your boundaries for successful conversations. Don't give up something that you know is valuable to you and your well-being and your mental well-being just because you want to find a compromise. You should not compromise yourself in order to find a compromise. So again, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. And finally, truthfulness. Oh, y'all, I wrote thankfulness. That's supposed to say truthfulness. We just gonna go for it. But it's supposed to say truthfulness, and self-explanatory. Don't lie. Don't act helpless when you are not. And don't exaggerate or make up excuses. Again, be direct, be to the point, be assertive, be expressive. Let them know this is what's going on. This is what I need to happen. Now, and then let them say what's going on and what they want to happen. And from there, figure out how y'all both can get that thing to work together. All right. That's it. This was a relatively shorter live because I felt like everything was pretty straight to the point and direct. I want to thank y'all so much for joining this live. I apologize for the confusion because earlier, I don't know what happened, y'all. I was live and I was good. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden it just cut off. And my husband was like, yeah, it said you cut off after a minute and 15 seconds. And I'm like, oh, great. So again, thank y'all for joining. Sorry about the confusion. As usual, just letting y'all know, Got my merch out, so make sure you check that out. Everything that we talked about tonight, all my sources, all my links, my website, the links to the shop, the links to my social media, everything will be in the flower box down below. So if you want to get some of this merchandise, you definitely can. If you want to donate and help BPD Squared grow, that's going to be down there as well. If you want to follow me on social media, that's down there as well. And if you want to reach out to me and have a conversation, reach out to me on Instagram. I have conversations with people all the time. I don't mind. I love it. So yeah. Sorry, I said I'm going to present you guys with the resources yet again to let you know that you have options if you or a loved one is suffering from any type of mental health crises. If you're feeling like there's more going on throughout your day besides you're a little sad or a little worried, and you feel like it's effectively disturbing your day and disturbing what you're trying to make happen, definitely use these resources. Reach out to someone. There's plenty of people out there who are willing to help. And before we go, I do want to give, first of all, a big shout out to everybody who is in the chat. Thank you so much for, again, coming out, being supportive and being loving and holding conversation with me tonight as I struggled. And I also want to give a quick shout out to 3 specific people. So as y'all can see back there, I showed it in the last live that I did that Madonna of M. Cody, One Mic, One Brush has a paint and sip art entertainment service where she will come to you and bring you the experience of a lifetime. So if you are thinking of holding a party and you want to get your paint on and learn some new skills and have a great time laughing, eating, drinking, whatever it is you want to do, please make sure you reach out to her. She's, of course, in the Houston area, but I believe she also does virtual parties as well. So definitely her stuff is in the description. Everybody I'm going to mention is their stuff is down below. So please, please, please check them out. A big shout out to my boy, Christopher J, the BTSI show. Definitely check him out. He's here on YouTube as well. He talks about all the things y'all need to know about. Okay, so whether it could be sports, whether it be marriage, whether it be current events, whatever it is, if there's a topic, he gonna talk about it. And it's some live stuff, y'all. He be talking about some stuff that I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can talk about that on my channel, but it's definitely worth a listen. Definitely worth giving it a listen. Definitely worth giving it a watch and a subscribe. So shout out to my boy Chris. Thank you for, you. First of all, you said I inspired you. You inspired me because I see your face pop up on my timeline all the time. And like I said before, I get so mad because I'm like, dang, he was live and I keep missing it. But I'm going to get it together. I guess I got to eventually wake up earlier, but we going to get it together. We going to work this thing out. But shout out to you, my boy. You are doing the dang thing. I'm very proud of you and I love seeing what you're doing. I want to tell a quick story about Christopher, right? So we met, I've known Christopher since college, right? And I don't know if you remember this story, Chris, but do you remember when we went to go see This Is It? Or we tried to go see This Is It? Y'all, let me tell you something. I was so mad. So y'all know this is back 2009, 2010. Michael Jackson just died. So yeah, it was 2009 because, he died in June. And then the movie came out in October. So my birthday's in October. So he was like, okay, let's go out. We're going to go see the movie for your birthday. It was so cool. And so we get to the movie theater and we're like, okay, we're going to get this, we got some ice cream or something like that. And I'm like, okay. Not I was pissed. I was though, so mad. So we got to the movie theater. We get this ice cream, right? Now this is what, Magic Johnson Theater, I think, or Edwards Theater. This thing I don't understand. You have a whole building, right? You got all these restaurants in the building. And then you tell me that I can't take the food in the building to the movie theater that the food is served in. I don't understand it. So I couldn't eat. Yes, it was Edwards. I could not eat my ice cream and watch my mans at the same time. Y'all don't understand how mad I was. I was so mad. I was so mad. So I don't even think we got to see the movie. That's how stupid it was. We couldn't go see the movie because they said I had to hurry up and finish my ice cream. I don't eat ice cream fast. So that means that basically money was wasted either way. I was so furious. But this person decided that I can't remember when if that happened before. Yes, I was about to talk about it. I don't know if that happened before or if that happened after, but we went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I think, yeah, it had to be after. So we went to Buffalo Wild Wings. Now, anybody that knows me knows I do not do spicy food at all. I don't do spicy food at all. This fool, I'm gonna say it. This fool said he ordered the hottest wings on the menu, and it was like, all right, we gonna try it. And I said, who gonna try it? And it's like, yeah, we gonna try it, y'all. I took that wing. Look out here. I'm gonna use this. This is the wing. Pretend it's wing. I took that wing. I did this. The smell just went through my nervous system, and I should have known then to put it down and leave it alone. But no, I'm trying to be a big girl or whatever. And this person tells me, it's really not that bad. I do this, and I'm dead. dead. So after about 15 minutes of me picking myself off the floor and finally icing my face down, I literally had to ice my face. Yo, I had to ice my face. Yes, you was capping. That was... It was painful, but that's a great memory. It was a funny memory regardless. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because basically, y'all, that was a crazy day, but it was still fun. I appreciate you for that. I will never forget that. So yeah, shout out to Chris. Check out his channel. Link is in the description and everything. And the last person that I want to shout out is my brother, Solo. I want to shout out my boy Solo, my brother. His channel here on YouTube is Home Something TV, as well as check him out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Everything gonna be down below, of course. My brother has been super inspirational in me in my business life. He has taught me so much, and he's helped me grow in ways that I didn't even know I needed to. And he's helped me to develop, hopefully, into the person that I am as far as it comes to business now. But his content focuses on, he's in the trucking industry, has a wonderful trucking business, successful trucking business, as well as he has some other ventures he's diving into. Like he does 360 photo booth, and I ain't gonna name everything he does because I don't want to put him out too much. But again, I will have the link to his YouTube channel and all his social media links below so you guys can check out what he does. He shares very, very important information as it comes to the trucking industry and building a business in general. So definitely something to check out. So I just wanted to give that quick shout out to you guys because y'all have been, in a business standpoint, very inspirational in encouraging me to continue and really put myself out there again and again and again. So thank y'all, and definitely everybody check them out. They deserve it. Shout out once again to all my friends in the chat. I love y'all so much. Thank y'all for being so supportive to me every single time we come through, especially my boy C. But yeah, so to not belabor this any longer, that is it for tonight's live. I love you guys so much. Thank you for sticking with me tonight. This was crazy, but it is what it is, and we made it happen. So I love y'all so much. Thank you. And I will see y'all next week in the next live. So make sure y'all are here. And oh yeah, I got to do the YouTube thing. Make sure you are, if you want to see more of what I'm doing here, make sure you subscribe so you're not missing when we go live and have our conversations. Make sure you are commenting if you check this out later and you have something to say. I want to hear what you got to say. Make sure you leave a like so I know and YouTube knows that all of this is worth seeing, as well as share this video with anybody who needs to hear this. Like I said, we're growing a community here, and it's definitely, in my opinion, information that needs to continuously be spread so that more and more of us are taking our mental health seriously. So this is not just about those of us who are diagnosed. This is about all of us, and our mental health is very, very important, guys. So I'll leave you guys with 2 final questions. Have you used any of these skills before? Let me know down below. And also, if you haven't, which skill do you think you will use first? So I truly, truly appreciate you guys. I love you so much. Woo, we got it. I'm going to put this back on the screen, but I just wanted to show my face up close and say I love you and thank you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye, y'all.
It's hard when you don't get the time to do the things you gotta do.